sidebar. All right, so we're coming back to a story that has been haunting this Mississippi community. This is a story that has captivated the country right now. We're talking about the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells, a college athlete, a beloved son. He was a young man who police say just went out to celebrate the 4th of July on a barrier island with friends and never came home. Now, we were on this when that devastating news came in. You'll remember earlier this week, we spoke with a member of the United Cajun Navy, someone who was actually a part of that search for Nolan, in the air searching when the news came in that a Park Service ranger had discovered Nolan's body. And since then,
an 18-year-old goes out with his friends to celebrate the 4th of July, and within hours, he's gone, and days later, he's found dead on the shore of a remote island, and almost nobody can agree on exactly what happened in between. This is the story of Nolan Wells, and right now, it is one of the most talked about mysteries in the entire country. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old, a wide receiver for Southwest Mississippi Community College, and before that, a senior at Ocean Springs High School, where his own coach later said he carried himself with humility, worked hard, and led by example on and off the field. On July 4th, Nolan headed out with a group of friends to Horn Island, a long, narrow barrier island about 10 miles off the Mississippi coast, part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore.
Started with that trip to Horn Island on the 4th of July. Now, if you're not familiar, Horn Island is this long, thin barrier island. It's about 10 miles off the coast of Mississippi. It's part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore, only accessible by boat. It's known as a spot where people like to go have some fun out on the water, especially on a holiday like the 4th of July. And that is exactly what authorities say 18-year-old Nolan Wells and a group of friends decided to do. That they apparently took out a private boat out to the island for the day, and something went wrong while he was out there. According to police, Nolan was last seen at around 3 p.m. on the northwest tip of Horn Island.
Only reachable by boat and a popular spot for people looking to spend a holiday out on the water. According to investigators, Nolan was last seen alive around 3 in the afternoon near the northwest tip of the island. His friends told authorities he chose to stay behind, reportedly to talk with someone he had met on the island, planning to catch a ride back to the mainland with a different group later that day. Not long after, according to a statement later posted online by the mother of one of the boys on the trip, the friends' own boat started taking on water because of an issue with the bilge pump, so they headed back to shore without Nolan, still believing he would follow later with the other group. He never did. That night, one of the friends who had been on the trip contacted the Coast Guard, and not long after close to midnight, Nolan's mother contacted the sheriff's office herself, and a massive search got underway involving the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the National Park Service, and the U.S. Coast Guard, along with volunteers from the United Cajun Navy.
His friends reportedly told searchers that he wanted to stay behind to talk to a girl, was planning to catch a ride back with another group. They ended up leaving, but when Nolan didn't return home, his mother reported him missing. Setting off this massive search involved multiple agencies, including the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the United Cajun Navy. Now, we spoke with the Vice President of the United Cajun Navy, Brian Trasher, in our previous episode, because he was part of the search. He was actually searching in the air when the news came in about Nolan's body.
I saw the body from about 300 feet in the air, and I can tell you that it did not appear to be waterlogged. It was only in the water for a couple days, but nevertheless, the sheriff's office put out a statement saying that they had no reason to believe it was not Nolan's.
Yeah, so a park ranger discovered this body in the water off the northwest tip of the island on July 7th. The family confirmed it was Nolan, but this is where things get complicated, because since that time, the case has taken some turns. The questions have only deepened, and I want to talk about what is happening right now. And now I want to bring on somebody to help make sense of everything that's happening. Joining me now, civil rights attorney, friend of the show, Joe Richardson.
A group that has stepped in for searches like this before. For days, there was no sign of him. Then on July 7th, a National Park Service ranger discovered a body in the water off the northwest tip of Horn Island, the same stretch where Nolan had last been seen. A volunteer pilot who had been flying search patterns overhead described spotting the body from around 300 feet up and said it didn't appear to have been in the water very long. Dental records, confirmed by the Jackson County coroner, showed what everyone feared. It was Nolan. His mother broke the news to their community on social media before officials said anything publicly, And almost overnight, this quiet Mississippi story became something the entire country was following, the kind of case that keeps showing up on timelines and in group chats because so much of it still doesn't add up. A mix of grief, unanswered questions, and a family that refuses to stay quiet until they get real answers. Tributes poured in. Nolan's school president and his former coach both spoke about a young man who was, in their words, well respected and deeply loved by teammates, classmates, and staff alike. Donations poured in too, through a GoFundMe that has since crossed $220,000. Actor Lil Rel Howery gave money to the family directly. The NAACP posted a message of support.
No. Look, and goes back to the larger question about so much attention, pressure being put on. There is also, I should mention this, there's also pressure coming from outside law enforcement. You have Representative Benny Thompson, Mississippi Democrat, has urged investigators to conduct a transparent and timely investigation. The NAACP posted on Instagram saying their hearts are with the family and friends. And I actually want to go now to something about the family because, look, they're going through something that nobody should have to experience. I mean, it's one thing to go through this, but having all this attention now on it.
Mississippi Congressman Benny Thompson publicly pushed for a transparent, timely investigation. And then came the biggest development yet. The family brought on nationally known civil rights attorney Ben Crump.
In the last few years, if you think about it, right, representing the families of George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor. And he put out a statement this week that's getting a lot of people's attention. I want to read part of it. Quote, "We've been retained by the family of Nolan Wells, a beloved son, teammate, and friend who went out to celebrate the 4th of July and never came home. The wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College was preparing to return for the upcoming football season and would have turned 19 next month. His family deserves answers. They deserve the truth. We will not rest until every fact about what happened to Nolan on Horn Island is brought into the light, and we call on investigators to pursue this case with the urgency and transparency this family deserves." Now, Crump,
the same lawyer who has represented the families of George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, and Breonna Taylor in the past, Crump didn't hold back, calling Nolan a beloved son and teammate whose family deserves the full truth, and vowing that his team intends to keep pressing until every unanswered question about what happened on Horn Island gets resolved. Bringing in an attorney like Crump this early rarely means a lawsuit is coming right away. It's usually about pressure, making sure investigators don't cut corners.
Before I even go to the independent autopsy, why hire a lawyer?
Because of all of the things that you don't know. Things happen very quickly as it pertains to a death. And gosh forbid there's something to hide. We're not saying that that's the case. But if there was something to hide, after an autopsy and you put that body in the ground, the body's not going to tell you any tales. And so we'll talk more about the autopsy, but that's one of the things that an attorney will do is get you a private autopsy. In the case of Ben Crump, he's also going to get you the attention that's going to ask questions that will put pressure on the powers that be, as it were, the people that are supposed to investigate thoroughly, etc. Because there are unanswered questions, you have to do the best you can to get to a place where you have every question answered that can be answered. You're not there, but is every question answered that can be answered? If the answer is no, and you can find an attorney that can draw attention as well as investigate, direct traffic,